Hey, welcome back to another episode of Historic Headstones of Norfolk. We are in Elmwood Cemetery. We are in the Potter's Field section of Elmwood Cemetery. And this is a little bit of a different video. What we're going to do is we're going to describe to you what a funeral in Potter's Field was like. The body of William Frederick Earsdorf, the man who found by the police in a vacant room over on 17 Brewer Street on February 25th, 1910. He died at St. Vincent's Hospital on that day in the afternoon and was interred here in Potter's Field in Elmwood Cemetery, which is here in downtown Norfolk. All right, what's a Potter's Field? We've talked about this before, but we're going to do it again. Potter's Field is where if you were poor, you couldn't afford the burial, you're put in here very cheaply. If you're a criminal, if you lived a type of lifestyle that people didn't like, you were put in here. If you had no next of kin and no one to pay for your funeral, you're put in. So many different reasons, but this is where people who couldn't afford proper funeral and burial are buried. As you can tell, there is very little headstones at all here, which is normal for Potter's Field. He was interred here without a religious service and without mourners, save the widow, also Miss George S. Rhino, also the superintendent of the cemetery, and two grave diggers who stood off to the side waiting for the ceremony to pass. The widow was carried out to the cemetery in a buggy of Miss Rhino, the wife of the superintendent of the city mission on East Main Street. This is the mission where the widow was staying because she was poor. She had nowhere to live, so she's living at the mission. Her husband, for some reason, was living away from her and died away from her as well. Before they arrived, the body was brought here to the cemetery in a plain cherry-colored box with no wording on it, no design, no nothing, just a plain box. He arrived exactly right in here. He's buried at Potter's Field. There was no ceremony, no one saying anything, no one said a word. The only movement is when the superintendent raised his head as the box was lowered into the newly dug grave. That was just a sign to tell his grave diggers to start lowering. There was a sob at first, and then it burst into hysteria. The wife had broken down on the ground, and Miss Rhino bent over to help pick her up. She then threw her arm around the widow and led the grieving widow back to her buggy, and then quickly drove her back to City Mission. The grave diggers went about their work as they were trained to do. Only a slight mound was made over his grave. There were no flowers, and no monument was ever erected. The only monument remembrance of his burial is a lot card in the office. And we are the first people to visit him in 110 years. So we're here to say we remember you, and we wanted to tell people what you went through. So there was not, when you were buried in Potter's Field, not many people came to see you buried. No one really cared. Unfortunately, it's just a way of life back then. It still kind of happens today. We saw that in New York City with the pandemic with the mass burials. There was no ceremony. They were just buried. The same thing here. So it's a little bit of a different video, but people are always asking us, what was it like? And this is our way of telling you that. All right, guys, take care and have a great day.